Hi, welcome to this episode of Connecting Cowichan. I'm your host Joseph, and on today's episode, we are going to be discussing knitting, which is a traditional practice and a traditional art within the Coast Salish territory. And today I have a special guest. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, Robert Sam on Nienta Stutson and Neat Penelakut.
So, how did you end up starting to knit?
At a young age, I think I was in my teens. My cousin Dean, Marge, started with couching toques and just going circles and just knitting and knitting. Sometimes I think you watch and you sit and you long enough, you could just watch how people are doing things, and it comes repetitive, and that's how I started learning. I'm going, oh, that looks easy. Like you can do with the sheep wool, you could do a body in about a day, not even a day. Good 8-10 hours, 12 hours. Yeah,
So that's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's I feel like it's something that's not as prominent as much as it was before. Like I don't see as many youth jumping into the practice of knitting.
Yes, you don't. Some have been asking me to try and teach them, and I've been on this Hulkaminum with the Kathleen Johnny on the Hulkaminum Lands Resources Society. And you get out to the parks and you try and bring wool and yarn and try and teach people, and it's like some people are left-handed, and like with me, I always just move one hand, so it's right,
yeah.
and just these fingers move when I knit. So and I'm going, it's tough to teach people how to knit, even just trying with two to make a scarf or something, something that small. It's really tough to try and teach people how to do that.
Getting the first steps
Just
down.
pulling it through, like, yeah.
I definitely, it's something that I wanna give a try, and I wanna make at least one item, and it doesn't have to be anything big. It would just be something small, but it's definitely something that I want to give a try. And I think like the initial learning process would be the hardest part.
Yeah.
And like you said, once you get into the nitty gritty of it and start doing the repetitions.
Yeah, repetition, and then you get, once you get that down, you start learning how to do designs and that kind of thing. This is the only one I use because I don't have to look at a pattern book, so I just got memorized now. I get so far, like even on the bodies here, like I can get up so far then without even having to look at the pattern now.
Oh, really?
Like I just go, as long as I got my numbers. Everything's about numbers when you do yarn, eh?
Yeah.
For me, it's numbers anyway. As long as I got the knit and purl down right, and then I get pick up once, and then you center your pattern in the back, and then you just go from the front. Like that's all numbers, eh? It's all, and if your numbers don't add up, you could have one over and one where you want it to be. So everything's about numbers for me. That's the way I see it. Knitting as long as you get your numbers right, then. Like for the pattern, it's 11 over. One time I made this, and it was 11 over because my pattern starts at 11, and I didn't take that 11 into account that one time, and my wolves were over that 11, so it was off center. And I'm going, oh God. No, twice.
Yeah.
Twice I did that. I had to rip the other one down. Was for a sweater, and I'm going, oh, I just couldn't do it that way. Like for the amount of time to do one of these, to get the body up to this part of it, it's about 3 to 4 weeks of knitting.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and then I had to rip it down, and I was just sat and I put my head in my hands, and I'm going, oh God, I'm just so freaking mad.
Yeah. You get frustrated.
Yeah. No, the fingers, there's lots of things, and I'm going, even because I use such small needles for these, the yarn, that it's really affects the arthritis, and like I feel like there's times where I don't want to do it today. But they're like, for me, if it's idle hands and idle mind, you know, you sort of get that. I go stir crazy.
Yeah, yeah.
It's like, what am I going to do with myself today? You know.
I can agree with that, because if you're idle hands, idle mind, you go stir crazy. You end up getting stuck in sort of a routine that's not necessarily beneficial to you.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the way it is with everything else in life, that, you know, we have to, where we're asked to do something, and then I say, okay, I got a month to do this, I got a month to get ready for this work. So I have to pick 2-3 days a week that I get out and go for a walk and sort of a jog, so that I'm ready for that day. And I have to put this aside sometimes, and so, but you know, I'm grateful for the life I got, that, you know, I'm able to do this kind of work and do our cultural work, and like today we're going to go witness Malahat.
Oh.
Maybe tomorrow we'll go witness Malahat again.
Yeah,
you know, those kind of the things that we put aside, and we think of our other families, right? So.
And so with the art form, in the time that you have been practicing, have you seen any changes or developments in that time? Like, have there been any changes toward going towards using like any sort of sewing machines or anything along those lines?
No, my wife does the sewing for all of the zippers that I make. So, yeah, no, we haven't really. She's got a sewing machine, but we don't use it on these. So, yeah, no, we haven't gone that route yet. So, and I don't think I'll ever will. So,
that's fair.
Yeah,
that's fair. I think there's a great deal of, like, I'm at a loss for words. I think like practicing the tradition of it and passing the tradition down of physically knitting and taking that time to do it is definitely important, and moving away from that could take away from the art form.
Yeah.
So I agree that I think it should stay more towards the traditional knitting style, just because it's been within our communities for as long as it has.
Yeah.
And like moving towards technology is a exciting jump, but at the same time it could take away so much of the purity of the art form. And so another follow-up question to that, where do you see the art form of knitting going within the next 50 years? It's a pretty big question.
For me, you know, I was actually surprised my daughter made her grandma a vest. She sent it over to the other side. And I was surprised she got that far. She made a sweater and it looked nice, and I'm going, oh, I'm proud of her. A few of the younger generation have that. You just got to have time, patience to actually do the work. And I think that right now I see it as a downward slope if nobody's learning. Like, I don't really see that much I see it in our health clinic, and they're trying to do knitting classes, and I'm going, oh, it'd be good to see who's all going to that, eh? But other than that, very few people. And just like the carvers, you know, we had this one guy, Ronnie George, called him Ronnie George, Ronnie Good, and he carved little spath bears, and he was hiding a salmon behind that bear. He used to make those, and I'm going, oh, I always wanted to get one. And I think that's the way people feel about, you know, when they see the vests and they ask me for one, and I'm going, you know, what if my time's not here to be able to make somebody one that they wanted one. And I just never got to get that bear, that spath. So I don't I see very few. Yeah, John Harry, he knits, right? Clem, John Harry, right across the big house, he does some knitting.
Do you currently have any projects that you have on the go for knitting currently? Too many?
I got so many people in line, they want different things. I've done different patterns, a few different patterns. People are willing to pay,
Top dog.
more than what I get from, like, if I went to sell at a family member in Nanaimo, family member in Chemainus, $300. And now I get 400 just for a small little thing, and I'm going, holy snap.
Yeah, yeah. And I've heard that reiterated by other artists as well, where they talk about how historically they would go and bring like carved items to the different galleries that would sell art, and way back when they would bring in multiple items, and they would have to sell multiple of the items for them to buy in bulk, and the value would be decreased because they would only offer X amount of dollars. And over time you'd see that same thing happen over and over, and the value could go down, it could go up a little bit, and like you say, selling it yourself has produced more for you than bringing it to one, like a gallery, for example.
Yeah. That's the way I see even our artwork today, that you go down into these Swinomish or over on the Port Angeles side, them galleries, you walk and you look at the art and I'm going, hey, I know that carving. And I look at it and I'm going, turn around, you look at it, 400 or 500 American. And I bet you they only got about 150, 100, $200 up for this piece, and they turn around and the markup on it is that they double the price on it sometimes from what they give us. I tried to bring one of these into Swinomish one time. No, we'll give you $50 for it.
$50, that's just insulting.
So I said, no, never mind. No, I'm okay. I'll get rid of it somewhere else. And that's what I felt, and I'm going. Then we wore this just the other weekend in Doghouse, and I'm going, oh, that's beautiful. Who did that for you guys? She goes, he did. I'm going, oh. Yeah, and just the compliments we get, and I'm going, especially if these wear these ones.
And then that should be fine.
Okay. Haichka. Yeah, just encourage all of our Hualmo people, don't, we got to at least try, in whatever we do, if it's knitting, sports, we're great people, right? And I think that's the way we gotta try and keep lifting each other up instead of chopping everybody down, right? What I always hear is, we're all the same. We're all the same. We're all this level, where nobody's better than anybody else. And I think you touched on that, some of that. Our leaders today, we need to be in there for each other rather than just for ourselves or for our family. And that's the way I see it. And I'm going, thank you.
Well, thank you for tuning into this episode of Connecting Cowichan. I've been your host, Joseph, with our special guest, Bob. And today's episode has been about knitting, and we'll see you next time.
Haichka.